Section 33. Vaisampayana said, King Dhritarashtra, endued with great wisdom, then said to the orderly in waiting, I desire to see Vidura, bring him here without delay. Dispatched by Dhritarashtra, the messenger went to Kshatri and said, O thou of great wisdom, our lord, the mighty king, desireth to see thee. Thus addressed Vidura, set out, and coming to the palace, spoke on to the orderly, apprised Dhritarashtra of my arrival. Thereupon the orderly went to Dhritarashtra and said, O foremost of kings, Vidura is here at thy command. He wisheth to behold thy feet. Command me as to what he is to do. Thereupon Dhritarashtra said, Let Vidura of great wisdom and foresight enter. I am never unwilling or unprepared to see Vidura. The orderly then went out and spoke on to Vidura, O Kshatri, enter the inner apartments of the wise king. The king says that he is never unwilling to see thee. Vaisampayana continued, having entered Dhritarashtra's chamber, Vidura said with joined hands unto that ruler of men, who was then plunged in thought, O thou of great wisdom, I am Vidura, arrived here at thy command. If there is anything to be done, here I am, command me. Dhritarashtra said, O Vidura, Sanjaya hath come back. He hath gone away after rebuking me. Tomorrow he will deliver in the midst of the court Ajatashatru's message. I have not been able today to ascertain what the message is of the Kuru hero. Therefore my body is burning, and that hath produced sleeplessness. Tell us what may be good for a person that is sleepless and burning. Thou art, O child, versed in both religion and profit. Ever since Sanjaya hath returned from the Pandavas, my heart knoweth no peace. Filled with anxiety about what he may deliver, all my senses have been disordered. Vidura said, Sleeplessness overtaketh a thief, a lustful person, him that hath lost all his wealth, him that hath failed to achieve success, and him also that is weak, and hath been attacked by a strong person. I hope, O king, that none of these grave calamities have overtaken thee. I hope thou dost not grieve, coveting the wealth of others. Dhritarashtra said, I desire to hear from thee words that are beneficial and fraught with high morality. In this race of royal rishis, thou alone art reverenced by the wise. Vidura replied, King Yudhishthira, graced with every virtue, is worthy of being the sovereign of the three worlds. Yet, O Dhritarashtra, however worthy of being kept by thy side, he was exiled by thee. Thou art, however, possessed of qualities which are thy very reverse of those possessed by him. Although virtuous and versed in morality, thou hast yet no right to a share in the kingdom owing to thy loss of sight, in consequence of his inoffensiveness and kindness, his righteousness, love of truth and energy, and his remembering the reverence that is due to thee. Yudhishthira patiently bears innumerable wrongs, having bestowed on Duryodhana and Suvala's son and Karna and Dusasana management of the empire. How canst thou hope for prosperity? He that is not served from the high ends of life by the aid of self-knowledge, exertion, forbearance, and steadiness in virtue is called wise. These again are the marks of a wise man, his adherence to acts worthy of praise and rejection of what is blamable, faith and reverence, he whom neither anger, nor joy, nor pride, nor false modesty, nor stupefaction, nor vanity can draw away from the high ends of life, is considered as wise. He whose intended acts and proposed counsels remain concealed from foes, and whose acts become known only after they have been done, is considered wise. He whose purposed actions are never obstructed by heat or cold, fear or attachment, prosperity or adversity, is considered wise. He whose judgment, disassociated from desire, followeth both virtue and profit, and who, disregarding pleasure, chooseth such ends as are serviceable to worlds, is considered wise. They that exert to the best of their might, and act also to the best of their might, and disregard nothing as insignificant, are called wise. He that understandeth quickly, listeneth patiently, pursueth his objects with judgment, not from desire, and spendeth not his breath on the affairs of others. Without being asked, he said to possess the foremost mark of wisdom. They that do not strive for objects that are unattainable, that do not grieve for what is lost and gone, that do not suffer their minds to be clouded amid calamities, are regarded to possess intellects endued with wisdom. He who striveth, having commenced anything, till it is completed, who never wasteth his time, and who hath his soul under control, is regarded wise. They that are wise, O bull of the Bharataris, always delight in honest deeds, do what tendeth to their happiness and prosperity, and never sneer at what is good. He who exulteth not at honours, and grieveth not at slights, and remaineth cool and unagitated like a lake in the course of Ganga, is reckoned as wise. That man who knoweth the nature of all creatures, is that everything is subject to destruction, who is cognizant also of the connections of all acts, and who is proficient in the knowledge of the means that men may resort to for attaining their objects, is reckoned as wise. He who speaketh boldly, he who striveth, having commenced anything, till it is completed, who never wasteth his time, and who hath his soul under control, is regarded wise. They that are wise, O bull of the Bharataris, always delight in honest deeds, do what tendeth to their happiness and prosperity, and never sneer at what is good. He who exulteth not at honours, and grieveth not at slights, and remaineth cool and unagitated, like a lake in the course of Ganga, is reckoned as wise. That man who knoweth the nature of all the creatures, is that everything is subject to destruction, who is cognizant also of the connections of all acts, and who is proficient in the knowledge of the means that men may resort to for attaining their objects, is reckoned as wise. He who speaketh boldly can converse on various subjects, knoweth the science of argumentation, possesseth genius, and can interpret the meaning of what is written in books, is reckoned as wise. He whose studies are regulated by reason, and whose reason followeth the scriptures, and who never abstaineth from paying respect to those that are good, is called a wise man. He, on the other hand, who is ignorant of scripture, yet vain, poor, yet proud, and who is resorteth to unfair means for the acquisition of his objects, is a fool. He who, forsaking his concerned himself with the objects of others, and who practiseth deceitful means for serving his friends, is called a fool. He who wisheth for those things that should not be desired, and forsaketh those that may legitimately be desired, and who beareth malice to those that are powerful, is regarded to be a foolish soul. He who regardeth his foe as his friend, who hateth and beareth malice to his friend, and who committeth wicked deeds, is said to be a person of foolish soul. O bull of the Bharataris, he who divulgeth his projects, doubteth in all things, and spendeth a long time in doing what requireth a short time, is a fool. He who doth not perform the Shraddha for the Pitris, nor worshipeth the deities, nor acquireth noble-minded friends, is said to be a person of foolish soul. That worst of men, who entereth a place uninvited, and talketh much without being asked, and reposeth trust on untrustworthy weights, is a fool. That man, who being himself guilty, casteth the blame on others, and who, though impotent, giveth vent to anger, is the most foolish of men. That man who, without knowing his own strength, and dissociated from both virtue and profit, desireth object difficult of acquisition, without again adopting adequate means, is said to be destitute of intelligence. O king, he who punisheth one that is undeserving of punishment, payeth homage to persons without their knowledge, and waiteth upon misers, is said to be of little sense. But he that, having attained immense wealth and prosperity, or acquired vast learning, doth not bear himself haughtily, is reckoned as wise. Who again is more heartless than he who, though possessed of affluence, eateth himself, and weareth excellent robes, himself without distributing his wealth among his dependents, while one person committeth sins, may reap the advantages resulting therefrom. Yet in the end, it is the doer alone to whom the sin attacheth, while those that enjoy the fruit escape unhurt. When a bowman shooteth an arrow, he may or may not succeed in slaying even a single person. But when an intelligent individual applieth his intelligence viciously, it may destroy an entire kingdom with the king. Discriminating the two by means of the one, bring under thy subjection the three by means of four, and also conquiring the five, and knowing the six, and abstaining from the seven. Be happy. Poison slayeth but one person, and a weapon also, but one wicked counsels. However, destroy an entire kingdom with king and subjects. Alone one should not partake of any savory viand, nor alone reflect on concerns of profit, nor alone go upon a journey, nor alone remain awake among sleeping companions, that being who is one without a second, and whom, O king, thou hast not been able to comprehend, is truth's self, and the way to heaven, even like a boat in the ocean. There is one only defect in forgiving persons, and not another. That defect is that people take a forgiving person to be weak. That defect, however, should not be taken into consideration, for forgiveness is a great power. Forgiveness is a virtue of the weak and an ornament of the strong. Forgiveness subdueth all in this world. What is there that forgiveness cannot achieve? What can a wicked person do unto him who carrieth the sabre of forgiveness in his hand? Fire falling on a grassless ground is extinguished of itself. An unforgiving individual defileth himself with many enormities. Righteousness is the one highest good, and forgiveness is the one supreme peace. Knowledge is one supreme contentment, and benevolence one sole happiness. Even as a serpent devoureth animals living in holes, the earth devoureth these two, viz. A king who is incompetent to fight, and a Brahmana who doth not sojourn to holy places. A man may attain renown in this world by doing two things, viz. By refraining from harsh speech, and by disregarding those that are wicked. Whatever among men, these two have not a will of their own, viz. Those women who covet men, simply because the latter are coveted by others of their sex, and that person who worships another simply because the latter is worshipped by others. These two are like sharp thorns afflicting the body, with the desires of a poor man and the anger of the impotent. These two persons never shine because of their incomparable acts, with a householder without exertion and a beggar busied in schemes. These two, O king, live as it were in a region higher than heaven itself, with a man of power endued with forgiveness, and a poor man that is charitable, of things honestly. God, these two must be looked upon as misuse, with making gifts to the unworthy and refusing the worthy. These two should be thrown into the water, tightly binding weights to their necks, with a wealthy man that doth not give away, and a poor man that is proud. These two, O tiger among men, can pierce the orb itself of the sun, with a mendicant accomplished in yoga, and a warrior that hath fallen in open fight. O bull of the Bharataris, persons versed in the Vedas have said that men's means are good, middling, and bad. Men also, O king, are good, indifferent, and bad. They should therefore be respectively employed in that kind of work for which they may be fit. These three, O king, cannot have wealth of their own, viz. The wife, the slave, and the son, and whatever may be earned by them would be his to whom they belong. Great fear springeth from these three crimes, viz. Theft of others' property, outrage on others' wives, and breach with friends. These three, besides being destructive to one's own self, are the gates of hell, viz. Lust, anger, and covetousness. Therefore, everyone should renounce them. These three should never be forsaken, even in imminent danger. Viz. A follower, one who seeks protection, saying, I am thine, and lastly, one who hath come to your abode. Verily, O Bharata, liberating a foe from distress, alone amounteth in point of merit. To these three, taken together, viz. Conferring a boon, acquiring a kingdom, and obtaining the son, learned men have declared that a king, although powerful, should never consult with these four, viz. Men of small sense, men that are procrastinating, men that are indolent, and men that are flatterers. Osir, crowned with prosperity and leading the life of a householder, let these four dwell with thee, viz. Old consanguineous relatives, high-born persons fallen into adversity, poor friends, and issueless sisters. On being asked by the chief of the celestials, Brihaspati, O mighty king, declared four things capable of fructifying or occurring within a single day, viz. The resolve of the gods, the comprehensions of intelligent persons, the humility of learned men, and the destruction of the sinful. These four that are calculated to remove fear, bring on fear when they are improperly performed, viz. The Agnihotra, the vow of silence, study and sacrifice in general. O bull of the Bharataris, these five fires should be worshipped with regard by a person, viz. Father, mother, fire, proper soul, and preceptor. By serving these five, men attain great fame in this world, viz. The gods, the Pitris, men, beggars, and guests. These five follow thee wheresoever thou goest, viz. Friends, foes that are indifferent, dependents, and those that are entitled to maintenance of the five senses beholding to man. If one springeth a leak, then from that single hole runneth out all his intelligence, even like water running out from a perforated labyrinth vessel. The six worlds should be avoided by a person who wishes to attain prosperity, viz. Sleep, drowsiness, fear, anger, indolence, and procrastination. These six should be renounced like a splitting vessel in the sea, viz. A preceptor that cannot expound the scriptures, a priest that is illiterate, a king that is unable to protect, a wife that speaketh disagreeable words, a cowherd that doth not wish to go to the fields, and a barber that wisheth to renounce a village for the woods. Verily, those six qualities should never be forsaken by men, viz. Truth, charity, diligence, benevolence, forgiveness, and patience. These six are instantly destroyed if neglected, viz. Kind, service, agriculture, a wife, learning, and the wealth of a Sudra. These six forget those who have bestowed obligations on them, viz. Educated disciples, their preceptors, married persons, their mothers, persons whose desires have been gratified, women, they who have achieved success, they who had rendered aid, they who have crossed a river, the boat that carried them over, and patients that have been cured, their physicians, health, indebtedness, living at home, companionship with good men, certainty as regards the means of livelihood, and living without fear. These six, O king, conduce to the happiness of men. These six are always miserable, viz. The envious, the malicious, the discontented, the irascible, the ever suspicious, and those depending upon the fortunes of others. These six, O king, comprise the happiness of men, viz. Acquirement of wealth, uninterrupted health, a beloved and a sweet spiritual wife, an obedient son, a knowledge that is lucrative. He that succeedeth in gaining the mastery over the six that are always present in the human heart, being thus the master of his senses, never committeth sin, and therefore suffereth calamity. These six may be seen to subsist upon other six. These six may be seen to subsist upon other six, with thieves upon persons that are careless, physicians on persons that are ailing, women upon persons suffering from lust, priests upon them that sacrifice, a king upon persons that quarrel, And lastly, men of learning upon them that are without it. A king should renounce these 7 faults that are productive of calamity, inasmuch as they are able to effect the ruin of even monarchs firmly established. These are women, dice, hunting, drinking, harshness of speech, severity of punishment, and misuse of wealth. These 8 are the immediate indications of a man destined to destruction, viz. Hating the Brahmanas, disputes with the Brahmanas, appropriation of a Brahmana's possessions, taking the life of a Brahmana, taking a pleasure in reviling Brahmanas, grieving to hear the praises of Brahmanas, forgetting them on ceremonious occasions, and giving vent to spite when they ask for anything. These transgressions a wise man should understand, and understanding eschew these 8, O Bharata, are the very cream of happiness. And these only are attainable here, is meeting with friends, assertion of immense wealth, embracing the sun, union for intercourse, conversation with friends in proper times, the advancement of persons belonging to one's own party, the acquisition of what had been anticipated, and respect in society. These 8 qualities glorify a man with wisdom, high birth, self-restraint, learning, prowess, moderation in speech, gift according to one's power, and gratitude. This house hath 9 doors, 3 pillars, and 5 witnesses. It is presided over by the soul. That learned man who knoweth all this is truly wise. O Dhritarashtra, these 10 do not know what virtue is. Is the intoxicated, the inattentive, the raving, the fatigued, the hungry, the starving, the hasty, the covetous, the frightened, and the lustful. Therefore, he that is wise must eschew the company of these. In this connection is cited the whole story about what transpired between Suryodhana and Prahalada, the chief of the Asuras, in relation to the later son, that king who renounceth lust and anger, who bestoweth wealth upon proper recipients, and is discriminating, learned, and active, is regarded as an authority of all men. Great prosperity attends upon that king who knoweth how to inspire confidence in others, who inflicteth punishment on whose guilt hath been proved, who is acquainted with the proper measure of punishment, and who knoweth when mercy is to be shown. He is a wise person who doth not disregard even a weak foe, who proceeds with intelligence in the respect of a foe, anxiously watching for an opportunity, who doth not desire hostilities with persons stronger than himself, and who displayeth his prowess in season. That illustrious person who doth not grieve when a calamity hath already come upon him, who exulteth with all his senses collected, and who patiently beareth misery in season, is certainly the foremost of persons, and all his foes are vanquished. He who doth not live away from hope uselessly, who doth not make friends with sinful persons, who never outrageth another's wife, who never betrayeth arrogance, and who never committeth a theft or showeth ingratitude, or indulgeth in drinking, is always happy. He who never boastfully striveth to attain the 3 objects of human pursuit, who when asked telleth the truth, who quarrelleth not even for the sake of friends, and who never becometh angry though slighted, is reckoned as wise. He who beareth not malice towards others, but is kind to all, who being weak disputeth not with others, who speaketh not arrogantly, and forgetteth a quarrel, is prized everywhere. That man who never assumeth a haughty mien, who never censureth others, praising himself, assumeth a haughty mien, who never censureth others, praising himself, the while, and never addresseth harsh words to others, forgetting himself, is ever loved by all. He who racketh not up old hostilities, who behaveth neither arrogantly nor with too much humility, and who even when distressed never committeth an improper act, is considered by respectable men a person of good conduct. He who exulteth not at his own happiness, nor delighteth in another's misery, and who repenteth not after having made a gift, is said to be a man of good nature and conduct. He who desire to obtain a knowledge of the customs of different countries, and also the languages of different nations, and of the usages of different orders of men, knoweth at once all that is high and low, and wherever he may go, he is sure to gain an ascendancy over even those that are glad. The intelligent man who relinquisheth pride, folly, insolence, sinful acts, disloyalty towards the king, crookedness of behavior, enmity with many, and also quarrels with men that are drunk, and mad and wicked, is the foremost of his species. The very gods bestow prosperity upon him who daily practiseth self-restraint, purification, auspicious rites, worship of the gods, expiatory ceremonies, and other rites of universal observance. The acts of that learned man are well conceived and well applied, who formeth matrimonial alliances with persons of equal position, and not with those that are inferior, who placeth those before him that are more qualified, and who talketh, behaveth, and maketh friendships with persons of equal position. He who eateth frugally after dividing the food amongst his dependents, who sleepeth little after working much, and who, when solicited, giveth away even unto his foes, hath his soul under control, and calamities always keep themselves aloof from him. He whose counsels are well kept and well carried out into practice, and whose acts in consequence thereof are never known by others to injure men, succeedeth in securing even his most trifling objects. He who is intent upon abstaining from injury to all creatures, who is truthful, gentle, charitable, and pure in mind, shineth greatly among his kinsmen, like a precious gem of the purest ray, having its origin in an excellent mind. That man who feeleth shame, even though his faults be not known to any save himself, is highly honored among all men, possessed of a pure heart and boundless energy, and abstracted within himself. He shineth in consequence of his energy like the very sun. King Pandu, consumed by Brahmana's curse, had 5 sons born unto him in the woods that are like 5 Indras. O son of Ambika, thou hast brought up those children and taught them everything. They are obedient to thy commands, giving them back their just share of the kingdom. O sire, filled with joy, be thou happy with thy sons. Then, O monarch, thou shalt inspire confidence in both the gods and men. Thus ended section 33 in the Sainyodyoga Parva of the Udyoga Parva.